Well, well, well. Couple of things have happened today. They've just posted back the actual CPI year-on-year data in the calendar. So tomorrow at 1:30 in the afternoon, which is 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard, they're going to be declaring the inflation data. You know that deal earlier on today with Oracle and Blue Water, is it? Bear with me a second. I just saw it. There you go, Blue Owl. Word is Oracle stocks dip 5% as Blue Owl Capital pulls out of the funding $10 billion data center. So, ciao, ciao. That explains why the NASDAQ took a little bit of a tumbler to the downside and why we can go and dive into Bitcoin price action, because apparently the supercycle started for about 5 minutes and then this happened. Well, this. But we're going to get to that in a very short moment. 24 hours. I just lost my trail of thought then. Bear with me. Next 24 hours are going to decide what the fate of Bitcoin is going to be. Are we going to be trailing at the 80K mark? Is that what would be deemed as a fair value for Bitcoin? Would you buy Bitcoin at 80K? You wouldn't buy it at 124. Some of you might have. You want to buy it at 100? Maybe 80K could be on the cards. Someone just asked an important question. Why is the yield on the Japanese yen still 1.97%? Well, they haven't increased the rates yet. They're not going into yen just yet. Because quite frankly, anything from now until that point when they say they're going to increase the rates, until that press conference is had, the market will not react straight away. Today's drop across the board, ladies and gentlemen, is a classic example of why you've got to pay yourself. Today, Platinum members made money on the move up, and if they were smart, on the move down. But it's very difficult to try and capture a move straight after one that's been profitable for you. You might get a little bit reluctant and think, I don't want to commit too much size and what have you. Yeah, if you're wondering why my eyes are squinting, it's because I've got probably one of the biggest headaches that cryptocurrency could offer today. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, so Coinbase will announce prediction markets and more rug pulls. Okay, that'll be wonderful. I told you all they would close the CME gap and then Bitcoin will tank, made over 3K on the short. Well done, Randy. It's nice to know. It's nice to know when people do it. Yeah, I think we will revisit $900. Huh? Well, $900 Bitcoin. Tino, Forbes article says Bitcoin can go to 10K. Of course it can. Hold on a second. Do you think that Bitcoin can't go to 10K? Give me your reasons as to why it can't. Then we'll be accepting that we're not just on the idea of why it can go to 200K or 300K or a million. Your reasons for Bitcoin to go to a million or 200,000, 300,000, okay, have to be, of course, equally met with the reasons as to why it could go to 10K. All right? Because there will always be someone that believes that Bitcoin has to go up, and there will always be someone that believes Bitcoin has to go down. All right? As it stands, they believe it should be priced at 85,782. So that's exactly what the price is. All right? We can speculate as much as we flipping want, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimately, we will never know where price goes, which is why your jobs as traders, as investors, is not to predict, it's to react. Yeah, I do predictions, all right? I give my mindset on what I think price is trying to give me based on my experience of staring at this absolute nut job of an asset class. Why the hell did you introduce me to it? I was doing perfectly well in the legacy markets. Never mind. XRP is now a bank. Right, can you get rid of that guy, mods, please? Anyone talking about XRP in this live stream is forbidden. Who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this guy? Tino, I'm watching you. Well. Crypto. been liking silver much more comfortable than crypto's crazy trade. A lot of people are like decided to walk away from crypto. Why? Except that cryptocurrency is not an investment for you to try and generate a yield from. It's to make profit quick and as fast as you can, because there's no stability in crypto. If there was, Bitcoin will be at $300,000 per coin, in my opinion. Well, if the men knew they were men, he would know that he's that guy. When trim beard, don't worry about my beard, anything. Anyways, listen, let's get with the program, guys. Here we go. Let's break it all down. Try and keep this live short and sweet for you. So here we go. So we get titles like this: Wall Street hit by tech rout as AI winners tumble in markets. So this is the actual article, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Oracle stock dips 5% as Blue Owl Capital pulls out of funding. Now, this is really important when you get a company that declares that they're trying to develop something and they want funding for it, all right? It gets welcomed by investors because they're like, oh my God, we're going to make so much money in the future in dividends, okay? Then what the hell was that image? Anyways, this right here is just as good as a merger and acquisition, right? When there is a potential buyout of a company or a merger or an acquisition, it then says, what the flip is going on there with this? Yeah, I've got some serious ad blocking madness going off right now, whatever that is. But anyways, as a company that goes in to try and get look, it's hitting news right here. Look, the FT story is incorrect. Our development partner Related Digital selected the best equity partner firm, a competitive group of options, which in this instance was not Blue Owl. Final negotiations for their equity deal are moving forward. Listen, this is quite crazy that there's a lot of back and forth and there's no consistency behind this story about whether they're going to get this funding or not. Yeah, let's just not really focus too much on that. It just puts pressure on the tech market. Of course, it does say volatility lashed out Wall Street, pushing high valuation technology shares and crypto lower while bonds paired losses after a senior Federal official reserve signaled room for rate cuts. Hold on a second. Wait there, right? Let's just break this down for a split second, guys, okay? This article says that volatility lashed Wall Street, pushing high valuation technology shares and crypto lower while bonds paired losses after a senior Federal Reserve official signaled room for rate cuts. So rate cuts means that money's going to be cheaper, yeah? Okay, cool. So why did everything drop today? Well, Micron Technology have done really well. They've smashed their earnings per share. So there's good news right there. But let's just go and have a look at what's really going on. Look, Bitcoin took a shoe bag to the downside. Not just a bag, a very crazy move. But this is textbook vector candle recovery. Check this out. If you're not a platinum member, you would have missed out on this opportunity. Yeah, it sounds like a cliche, but here it is. Look at this. We wanted to see Bitcoin from the green vector candle block. That's what the emphasis was today. It was all about the blocks being confirmed. Here is an example of the block principle right here. We were looking for longs, keeping it short and sweet. Vector candle recovery back up there towards 89,050. And here we go. We made the move up towards that green vector candle, 89,661. If you held on to it, you would have seen a little bit more in the psychological range at 90,384. Happy days. It then says, no, thank you. Vector candle recovery, Brinks box strategy, always recovering the vectors in the Brinks. Happy days. It comes all the way back down again. Awesome. Ethereum. We said to Ethereum, come on, Ethereum, I want to see you do a little bit of a pumpalicious from the green vector candle block. Okay. Red candle, green candle formation, stopping volume candle 1, stopping volume candle 2. Okay. Red vector candle imbalance in the past, which could give us an idea as the bids were coming in to get ready to offer out. What did we say at the start of the live stream? They're not going to sell Bitcoin when it's dropping. They're going to sell it when it's rising. Wasn't today BlackRock offering out all that Bitcoin? Okay. Oh, we've seen some purchases, ladies and gentlemen. 4 hours ago, they gave us some purchases and they gave us some sales. So pretty much break even. What the flip is going on with this thing? Anyways. There was Bitcoin. There was Ethereum. Beautiful move on Ethereum, but it was very short-winded. Look at that. Came in, stop run all the way up towards that 3,032. Wanted to see 3,022. Hit the target. Yippee-ki-yay, off she goes. Back down again, because that's what they do, ladies and gentlemen. They violate the ranges. Solana, green vector candle block principle. However, there was more than one vector block inside of here. And we had a cluster of vectors inside of this. And then shift out to the upside, 131.60. And then, of course, we saw Solana then come around and clear out top side, 133.96. Vector candle recovery. Listen, go on the Traders Reality website, all right? And you can get access to the whiteboard sessions. Go straight to the block trade principle and you'll see exactly this play happening. And I'm teaching it in that whiteboard session, all right? This is what we do every day. It's going to last you about 25 minutes, that masterclass session, but it's going to give you everything you need. If I was to have my time again and I came across the hybrid system and I heard this bold madman who used to have hair, now he doesn't, talking about a system and there's various ways of trading it, I would pick two aspects of the hybrid. That would be the V-shaped reversals and, of course, the block trade principle. Those are the two elements. If I had to pick one, it would only be V-shaped reversals because that's exactly what I take on every single day. I look for V-shaped reversals. Why? Because the story of the V-shape is all about the bids and the offers and understanding that when they bid lower, they're buying, they're absorbing, and then there is an attempt to try and mark it back up again. Today, we didn't quite get those V-shaped reversals. We did get it from the NASDAQ a very short time on that. And that was earlier on right here. Okay, so I'll just quickly give you an example of that. So if you notice, you did have this little bit of a reversal back up. That is huge in terms of ticks. You know, there's a lot of ticks profit that you can gain off that. You have to take profits though, because look what happened. NASDAQ, it just says no. No, thank you. No, thank you. Is the carry trade getting ready to unwind, Tino? Is that what we're talking about? Well, look, this is why it's important. Look, here, we've got tomorrow, we have got the CPI year on year coming into play. Thursday. What day is it today? Yeah, Thursday, CPI year on year. They're expecting inflation to go up. But we're going to get rate cuts. The Eurozone is going to keep rates as they are. The Bank of England's inflation has come down, so that's great news. Now we're going to look for a rate cut in the pound. Awesome. So everyone's cutting, and the yen is the only one that's increasing, which will be at this time tomorrow. This will be the last few hours before. This time tomorrow will be the last few hours before the actual market gets the information about the interest rate cut on the Bank of Japan's rates. And that itself is going to be interesting. Quickly having a look at the yield. Jesus, it's still going up. It's not bloody stopped. 1.978, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, this is going to come down once the yields get actually increased. The volatility index came in at spot 8.75. Not really any big movement on the VIX, which tells me that investors are somewhat humming and ahhing about things. The euro did relatively well in some aspects today. We wanted to see euro make longs today. Yeah, we were favoring euro longs from this range on the red vector candle block at 1.1771. And we saw that move to the upside, made the clean move up, and she did end up taking the TP. Yeah, she took the TP at 1.17612, 1.17. No, just missed it ever so slightly. Wanted to see gold make a bit of a pump. Wanted to see it come down to make a pump up to 4,350. And we ended up seeing gold clearing out the top of the range. Very choppy range. Yeah, 4,349. So not bad. $1 off and some. But looking at it all, look at that. Getting ready, ladies and gentlemen. The USD JPY carry unwind. It's happening. Forex intervention levels, 155. It's no good for the yen. Going into the yen itself, you can see it's pulling back down very interestingly enough. Dollar dominance itself, quickly going over into that. You can see it's starting to stage a nice little bit of a reversal. But tomorrow's going to be a bit of a tricky one, if I'm quite frank with you, ladies and gentlemen, because the CPI data is going to show that inflation's going higher, which could be room for the idea that they're not going to be cutting the rates as aggressively. But Waller today was saying, Waller, whatever his name is, was saying today that, yeah, we are in line for a rate cut. We're so far going into the direction of 2% inflation. Target, not when it's going up to 3%, and that's what the year-on-year reading is looking like. Oil still trading above 2.57% increase for the day. I mean, it's just absolutely wild what's going on with oil. But then we go over to our dearly beloved Bitcoin, and we look at what goes off. Look, man, it's like I said to you, you always got to take money in this game. Gone are your days for holding it for the tech. You're in it just to make money. So when you make the money, then take advantage of it, ladies and gentlemen, because this was the start of the super cycle, and then it's ended up being a super shit show. Sorry, not a super cycle. I saw it all on X when we saw Bitcoin making a bit of a move up. I saw loads of posts. Everyone was going, Bitcoin's on the pump. That's it. This is it. This is it. This is it. Big formations. Nah, man. Nah, man. Not yet. Not yet. Let the carry trade get unwind, come into a play, and then you can start thinking about buying Bitcoin up, because Bitcoin has got some healthy areas of liquidity. That one would be of the assumption that now's the time to start taking advantage of Bitcoin when it goes there. I mean, going into the order flow, you can see, look at these bids, man. Look at these bids. My days, look at what's happening. They are buying up so much Bitcoin, it hurts. $82 million spot purchase at 90,004. Okay, that's what got picked up there, and they're still sustaining the bidding, right? That means there are people and players positioning themselves, getting ready for some accumulation in Bitcoin, all right? And they're going to accumulate a bit more, and then you'll get your little bit of a reversal, because we're going into an easing cycle, which is money is going to be cheaper. So naturally, it's going to start coming up, but everything needs to reset. We need to start seeing overvaluations of stocks to come into play and be undervalued. So once we start hearing about companies talking about undervaluations, then awesome. Start buying up everything that you can. That's what my opinion is. Tina, how to trade BTCC platform on TradingView. All you need to do is go up here. To join BTCC, you can do that in the link in this description of this live stream, and then go up here, press BTCC, click that, and it will then link. You can link your account when you follow the steps with it. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, my friend. Hey Tina, does it make sense to swap my USD, which is sitting on my broker account, because I'm waiting for an investing opportunity, or rather the carry drop to the yen? Listen, for those of you that are sat in dollars and what have you, all right, if you're really going to play the game, you're going to convert your convert your dollars into euros. But how many dollars are we talking about? You know, how many dollars are we actually looking at here? If you're exchanging anything between $50,000 to $100,000, okay, you're going to see a little bit of a difference, all right, in your dollar exchange. And then if the actual concept of the dollar depreciating, all right, if it comes down even further, then you're losing purchasing power on your dollar, but you're gaining it on the euro. And then what you're then going to do is, when the dollar goes down and the euro goes up, when you exchange euros back into dollars, you'll be obtaining more dollars with more purchasing power off the back of the yen. Okay. And that's something you got to understand, because that is what's happening in real time. That's why I say to you, focus on Forex, understand what's going on over there, and then lead into the marketplace, because there are participants that will then want to exchange euros for dollars and dollars for euros. But then what they do with those euros and dollars is then going to be reflected in what happens in the marketplace. All right. That's what you got to look at. So if the carry trade principle is going to come into play, then logic says that dollar's going to go down, euro's going to move up. All right. Plus, you add the issue of the dollar losing its yield on the interest rate cuts itself, and okay. And you've got the problem of debt. So yeah, we've got that. And you've got the overvaluations of stocks. So now would be a good time to start getting rid of stock. Because if your dollar power is actually lower, but your stocks are deemed in overvalued areas, then at least you're making a return off the value of your stock. So you're going to be able to obtain more dollars in value, okay? Because you're holding a larger number of dollars now with this purchasing power, or the selling power from your stocks in principle, okay? But it all depends on how you're going to play it, you know, and how the market reacts to the carry trade unwind. We don't know what the depth of the carry is, all right? But if we do see and hear that they don't like the carry unwind on Friday, well, they've only got Friday to really resolve the matter. That's the thing. Because after that, the market's going to be very, very light going into next week, Christmas week, and what have you. So just take that into consideration. I think you need to trade a turkey volatility liar. What? Tina, how about NASDAQ? What is your thoughts? you want a little history lesson? Yeah, we could use this. So before usually every big crash, we see this fake out low volume move to the upside on the NASDAQ and the S&P. There's one right there. It led to that. Okay, but that was COVID, right? Then you had this one right here. Drop. Fake out move, all-time high, drop, no volume. Then you had this story over here with this, the little bit of a fake, not crash, but bear market right here. And then, of course, not bear market, but, just pullback. And then you had this pullback here. But the big one for me, okay, is, of course, there you go, the 2018 crash, which was when the banks had declared their realized gains and losses. And it came to around 250 billion. And there was a little M formation, all-time high, and it just rolls over from there, okay? And then we go into something more interesting, which is, of course, the subprime mortgage crisis of 2007, 2008, right? And if you look at what they're doing at that point, then you can say to yourself, okay, then could we be seeing the same thing happening over here? So here is the subprime mortgage crisis, 2007, 2008, right? There's a top. There was no volume at that time, all right? Go look at the volume at that point in time and you'll understand. Zilch, okay? Made an all-time high, happy days, M formation, rolls over, there's your subprime mortgage crisis. Off she goes, okay? Now, what we got, what's going on in here? Exhaustive gap at the all-time highs. That's crazy. How many gap ups do we have? These are exhaustion gaps, okay? Building up, all at the all-time high. Yeah, your market's going to slump. Of course it is. Your market's going to drop. It's going to be a nice drop. It's going to be a nice discount too. You're going to look back at NVIDIA and be like, oh my God, $182. What's NVIDIA right now? Yeah, $170. Oh my God, $170. And then you see it and it's like, wow, $100 on NVIDIA with that tech. Yeah, baby, I'll take that. Money just needs to rotate, ladies and gentlemen. That's all they've got to do. They've just got to rotate it. All right? Bitcoin's still going down. Questions? What? Is the bull market over? Are we heading towards a bear run? Don't worry about the bull market, man. Don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about a bull market. When you try and categorize, all right, you have to understand if you are in a bullish mode or a bearish mode. But why? Hold on a second. Why would you ask if you're in a bull market or a bear market? What's going on with interest rates? They're cutting them. So money's going to be cheaper. So you're in an easing cycle. When you're in an easing cycle, they just need to reevaluate, readjust, rotate, and get ready for the next run. Don't look at bullish, bearish. Look at easing and tightening. That keeps you aligned with the market as to whether investors are going to put their money in or not. All right? That's how you should do it. I haven't actually spoken about the housing market, to be fair. Yeah, $170 after a 10-to-1 split. It's $1,700 still. Yes, it's in value, yes. That's prediction. Huh? What do you mean that's prediction? Legit question, Tino. If you had 100K, where would you invest for long-term profits? I'd split it in... It's not financial advice, right? But I'd get yourself... The problem is with the ETFs as well. You're going to have to pay fees with it, right? Oh, New Zealand GDP coming quarter over quarter, 1.1%. So their GDP has expanded. Not bad for New Zealand. Raoul Powell said the cycle is 5.4 years. Altcoin season starts at the end of 2026. Banner cycle starts and crashes in 2026. AI bubble crash. What's your thoughts on this? Do you know what? If anyone has read the Market Wizards book, none of them predicted anything. None of them predicted anything. The Market Wizards, none of them predicted anything. They didn't care about predictions. They just reacted. So whether you've got your Bitcoin cycles, that's hopium. That's all that is. Your Bitcoin cycle is hopium. That's all you're doing, right? When you didn't have to worry about non-farm payrolls when you were buying and selling Bitcoin, life was good. Now you got to pay attention to it, all right? The more capital goes into cryptocurrency, the more influence non-farm payrolls, job openings report, consumer sentiment, manufacturing, ISM, services, PMI, PCE, the core price index, the flipping CPI data, all of that shit then becomes important for Bitcoin. Before you only gave a damn about on-chain analytics. Now you've got to factor all of that stuff in. I don't think Bitcoin is subject to its own cycles anymore. Sorry. All right? When a tech company flops it with funding, Bitcoin drops. What? What? That's not the Bitcoin that I know. Anyway, never mind. Tina, does it feel like a bubble pop to you? Look, man. Fuck, look. Does it feel like a bubble? There's nothing popping, ladies and gentlemen. This is dead helium. It's that helium gas. That's what this is. It's dead. Look at it. That's the market. That's your volume. You know, helium voice. Hello, everybody. This is my volume. That's look at it, man. Where's your volume? I've been saying this for weeks. No volume at the highs. There's the problem. Ain't no bubble bursting. So whoopee cushion. Anyways, never mind. Raoul Pal is like Elton John. How do you deal with the paradoxical side of trading when you say react instead of predict, when all you do is wait for your bias to be confirmed and take the trade? You have zero bias, my friend. You can't have a bias when you're reacting. Think about it, right? If the general sentiment across the board is Bitcoin should be going up because it should be going up, then you look at it, it's going down. What are you going to do? But it should be going up. You're reacting, just go down. Sometimes bias doesn't really serve you when you're looking at price and it's not reflecting the bias. You have to go in and say, forget the bias, all right? And just focus on what's going on. How do you react to it, okay? If you cut yourself open, all right, you're going to stand there and just read off the story of bias and be like, well, I favored the cut from the left side of the arm and I wanted to cut it with that side and I'd favor it a little bit more wider. What the hell, man? You're pouring with blood, bro. Fucking fix it. That's what you need to do. Trading is no different. You know? Trading is no different. If it's pouring with blood, ride the wave. Ride the pour. If it's rising with power, ride the power. Ride the lightning, ladies and gentlemen. To all my Metallica fans. My bias is the weekly cycle, and when I see the move, it's up to me to react by deciding to go long, short, if I believe it's a stop hunt or the true move shift out, but there is always a bias. What the F? Yes, look, there is always a bias, but what I'm trying to say to you, bro, is you know the idea of married to a trade, all right? That's bias. You can't eliminate that. So in order to control your expectation of bias, because that's what you're doing, you're being results-based orientated. You need to be process-based, because results-based orientated says that as this bias comes into play, I expect price to go down. And as a result of, it's going to go down, right? No, you can't. You have to be process-based, which effectively means that what am I seeing now? What's going on now? How do I react to the now? Be in the zone. Mark Douglas, trading in the zone. Every event is completely unique to itself. That's why it's physically impossible to have a bias when you think about it. Yeah, all right, price is going down, price is going up. But paradoxically, as you said, right, if every moment is unique in the market, courtesy of Mark Douglas, those are his words. If every moment in the market is unique to itself, then that means there is zero bias because it's always changing. You have no bias. You can't have a bias if every moment in the market is different. If we had a bias, then that means every moment in the market is the same because it's sticking with the bias. That's how I understand it. Anyway. So why are they buying Bitcoin if it's going to dump? Well, if they're buying 50 million, 25 million, 10 million, 3 million, do you think these guys give two shits about drawdown? No. They obviously think... you got to remember, when you're buying that amount, look at the rallies. Fade the rallies. They're fading them. So this could be a little bit of a consolidation, get ready to drop it, and then all of a sudden you see a nice little pump up. And then it converts the whole range. Price then clears out all of this. Sweeps that liquidity there. Everyone's in the bullish market. Everyone's going on the super cycle. And then what happens? Price then reverses back down again. You know? You want to marry Bitty, just become blood brothers with Sailor. Yeah, that's true. Metals, the real money makers. You know. You know. But patterns tend to occur. Yeah. Okay. Patterns are not bias. Patterns are not bias. We train our eyes to see the same thing over and over. Indeed, every moment is different, yet we try to catch patterns that always happen. Patterns are not bias, it's structure. But listen, we need to classify what bias means. I think Bitcoin's going to go up. That's my bias. My bias is weighted to the idea of higher prices. My bias is weighted to the idea of lower prices. So all of my decisions are going to be based on my bias. Right? Ultimately, your goal is just to react. That's all you've got to do. React. All right? And when you can react with zero bias, then there's nothing going to... You will cease to have emotions in trading because then you'll be approaching things logically. You take a trade and it's going against you. Your reaction is what? Get rid of it. Change direction. That's what you got to think about. Patterns of reactions in the market. My cat watched you deep in the face. Oh. Tino, man, what sort of trading is a good alternative other than crypto at this point in time? I've looked at options, but that's complicated. Listen, we're in an easing cycle, guys. Focus on Forex. Cryptocurrency is a nut job. Stick to the futures markets. I mean, if you've got bulls, trade the futures markets, right? And, you know, just... It's all the same story, guys. That's the truth. It's all the same. Cryptocurrency is a little bit more fruitful, but that's it. Why would whales suddenly abandon alts? Isn't that where the big X happens? No alt season. Alts are dead forever. Glad I sold month. Last wrecked. Never again. Alts. Ciao, ciao. Again, mentality of crypto. It's there. Cryptocurrency idea can't be killed. Altcoin season. When altcoin season. When altcoin season. Buy this alt. Buy this alt. It's actually quite atrocious when, you know, people do encourage people to buy alts. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on for what, bro? What's your logic on holding on? Break down to me the logic. Before I finish, those of you holding altcoins, I want you to give me in the comments, and YouTube right now gives you an option to respond with voice. All right. As the creator on the channel, I can respond with voice. I want you, if you don't mind, to give me solid reasons as to why you need to hold your altcoins. Give me solid reasons. Give me reasons that would encourage money to go into the altcoin. Listen, you might think that I don't want you to have any altcoins so I can go and buy them all up. No, I'm trying to get you to be critical with your thinking. All right. If you're playing the game of investments, even Warren Buffett gets rid of stock. That's why he's got $380 billion cash reserves waiting for everyone to shit the bed so he can go and clean up. Right? But comment. Tell me your reasons to why you're still holding on to your altcoins and not because you want to get break even. Give me the reasons, all right? And before you even finish typing, but you got to factor in good reasons. Don't give me that developers and all that shit, not the coin itself. Give me reasons, real reasons as to why you should be holding on to the altcoin cycle, or you just holding on to a dream that once happened and you want the dream to reoccur. Well, you could be living the requiem of a dream, ladies and gentlemen, because might be a bit of a tricky story with that altcoin season thing, because there's too many influences in cryptocurrency. And yeah, just take whatever money you can get from the altcoins, get out and start putting it to work elsewhere. All right. Your altcoin is cheap for a reason. All right. That's my logic. So and Ether technically altcoins? Yes, they are. Any coin outside of Bitcoin is a meme coin. Mad love and respect, gang.